Good morning. My name is Caroline Kieltyka, and I am the Strategic Initiatives Manager for the Connecticut Department of Transportation Office of Rail. I'd like to thank you for inviting Connecticut DOT to the 2024 New England Railroad Symposium. We're very glad to continue working with the Transportation Infrastructure Durability Center. Last year's symposium featured my colleague Yuri Kulgis, Assistant Rail Administrator for the Connecticut DOT Office of Rail. His presentation highlighted the Time for CT rail initiatives, our rail infrastructure and the emerging challenges, and the strategic plan to improve passenger rail service throughout the state of Connecticut. My presentation today is a follow-up presentation to that, which will focus on a year in review of our Time for CT rail initiatives, particularly on infrastructure and the federal funding awarded for these infrastructure improvements. To begin, I'd like to give a brief overview of the passenger rail system in Connecticut. The different colors on this map represent the different rail corridors in the state. The yellow corridor in southwestern Connecticut is the New Haven Line commuter service, which includes the Waterbury, Danbury, and New Canaan branch lines. The 49.4 route miles between New Haven and the state line in Greenwich are owned by the state and operated and maintained by Metro-North Railroad. The red corridor in the middle of the state between New Haven, Connecticut, and Springfield, Massachusetts, is the Hartford Line. The Hartford Line is a blend of two intercity services, the Amtrak Hartford shuttles and the CT Rail Hartford Line service. These services run over Amtrak-owned territory. The CT Rail Hartford Line service launched in June 2018 and is operated by Transit America Services, known as TASI, with equipment owned by the department. Next, the Magenta Corridor extending from New Haven to New London is a Shoreline East commuter rail service. Amtrak provides the service using Connecticut DOT-owned rail equipment over this Amtrak-owned Northeast Corridor. And finally, the blue corridors are the Amtrak intercity rail services, which include the Acellas, the Regionals, the Vermonter service, and the Hartford Line shuttles. As you can see, in Connecticut, we have multiple services and operators in a relatively compact area across the state. Time for CT is Governor Lamont's vision for the future of passenger rail in Connecticut. The governor's goal is to save passengers 25 minutes by 2035 through investing in trains, tracks, station, and bridges on the New Haven line. Therefore, at the governor's direction, Connecticut DOT completed the first ever comprehensive analysis of the New Haven line to determine what can be done to speed up the service. The report analyzed existing conditions of and potential future improvements to the Connecticut rail network, including infrastructural, operational, and financial considerations. The project team's review of the existing conditions on the rail network identified several capacity constraints, including legacy infrastructure and ongoing construction and repair work, as well as operational factors that could be modified to improve service quality. As a result of the analysis, a 12-year investment program of $8 to $10 billion was developed to rebuild the railroad for faster service to meet the governor's vision. The program is named the Track Improvement and Mobility Enhancement Program. The projects within the program include replacement of 4 movable bridges that are between 110 and 125 years old, as well as projects that focus on replacement and upgrade catenary systems, upgrading railroad track to Class 6, increasing track centers, replacement of open deck bridges, improvement of drainage, straightening of track curves, new train signals, and various other rail infrastructure improvements. The projects in this program were included in the Northeast Corridor Commission's Connect NEC 2035 plan, also called the C35 plan. The C35 plan, published in July 2021, was a corridor-wide, multi-year shared action plan that was guided by a long-term vision for reinvestment in the corridor. Together, the corridor developed a detailed sequencing of infrastructure investments over 15 years. Congress and the administration took the proposals in the C35 plan to heart in structuring of the bipartisan infrastructure law. And through this law, the Federal-State Partnership for Intercity Rail Grant Program in the bill provided 5 years of advanced appropriations totaling $24 billion for the Northeast Corridor. It also created the NEC project inventory list built on the Connect NEC planning process to establish funding eligibility under this grant program. In 2023, the C35 plan was transitioned into the C37 plan, which was an update to the C35 plan that begins to define in greater detail how to achieve the investment goals, particularly for projects funding in the near term. So starting with Governor Lamont's Time for CT vision, backed by comprehensive analysis and strategic planning by the department and the Northeast Corridor, it paved the way for Connecticut to be able to leverage federal funds to enhance the state's rail infrastructure, specifically the Federal-State Partnership NEC grant program, which I will highlight today. The Northeast Corridor Federal-State Partnership for Intercity Passenger Rail, abbreviated as FSP NEC program, is a grant program that funds capital projects to reduce the state of good repair backlog, improve performance, or expand or establish new intercity passenger rail service. The total funding available for this last round was a combined $16 billion. This funding is important because it was the first ever dedicated multi-year federal funding for the Northeast Corridor, which provides the predictability needed to deliver our major capital programs. To be eligible to apply for this funding, our projects needed to be included on the Northeast Corridor project inventory list. As I mentioned in the previous slide, this inventory list was built on the C-35 planning document, which included Connecticut's major capital projects for the corridor. The overall purpose of this inventory list is to create a predictable pipeline that will assist Amtrak, states, and the public with long-term capital planning for the Northeast Corridor. The Northeast Corridor project inventory list covers the period of 2022 through 2024, including projects that are anticipated to be ready for some activity before 2025. The NEC project inventory included 17 Connecticut DOT-sponsored projects, with 14 of those projects identified as eligible for funding in this past cycle. The inventory list was broken into two buckets, one bucket for major backlog projects and the second bucket for capital renewal stations and improvement projects. Connecticut DOT had 3 projects under the major backlog bucket and 11 projects in the capital renewal stations and improvements bucket. In addition, the Connecticut River Bridge project, which was sponsored by Amtrak, was also eligible for funding in this cycle. The department went all in and submitted a total of 13 applications for this grant program. The grant applications required an all hands-on-deck collaboration and coordination internally between all department bureaus here at the DOT, externally with our stakeholder partners, Amtrak, Metro North, and TASI, and also with heavy consultant support. Furthermore, in addition to grant development, our governor, as well as the state legislator, ensured that the department had the state match money ready to go with our application. Their readiness of match funds demonstrates a commitment from state leadership to prioritize and advance rail infrastructure development. The 13 grant applications submitted requested a total of $2.16 billion in funding. The department was successful in securing a historic level of grant funding. Under the FSB NEC, we received $1.2 billion for 8 projects, with 8 projects listed on the slide. The first 3 being funding for 3 of the 4 of our movable bridges, followed by 5 capital renewal and improvement projects. Each of these projects was funded for the project lifecycle stage, in which the project would be in 2025 as the grant required. The first movable bridge, the Walk Bridge Replacement Project, received $465 million for construction to replace the existing bridge, 127-year-old 4-track, 4-span movable bridge over the Norwalk River in Norwalk, Connecticut. This bridge is currently in construction and completion is scheduled for 2029. The second movable bridge, the Devon Bridge Replacement Project, received $245,920,000 for project development and final design for the replacement of the 118-year-old bridge connecting Stratford and Milford. In addition to the funding received for project development and final design, FRA intends to issue a letter of intent for up to $2.2 billion towards the construction of the new bridge. And the third movable, the Saugatuck River Bridge Replacement, received $23,200,000 for project planning to replace the existing Bascule Bridge, which carries 4 railroad tracks over the Saugatuck River in Westport, Connecticut. The remaining 5 projects are capital renewal and improvement projects. The Devon Interim Repairs Project received $119,320,000 for project development, final design, and construction for targeted interim repairs to keep the 118-year-old Devon River Bridge in safe operation until the major replacement can occur. The Time 1 project received $71,648,000 for project development and final design for track improvements. The project involves reconstruction of 7 overpass bridges, upgrade of all tracks to FRA Class 6 standards, track realignments, installation of a new interlocking, replacement of catenary system components, and rail bed drainage improvement. The New Haven Line Power Improvement Program received $122,800,000 to cover design of 5 substations, as the design of 2 substations were funded through a separate effort, and construction costs associated with the replacement and upgrade of 7 substations. The New Haven Line Network Infrastructure Upgrade Project received $15,400,000 for project development, final design, and construction to replace and upgrade fiber optic communication cables and network infrastructure at 60 locations along the New Haven line. And lastly, the Hartford Rail Line Program Double Track Phase 3B project received $104,866,500 for final design and construction. The proposed project includes construction to improve tracks, signals, and grade crossings in 3 segments, totaling 6.2 miles of the Hartford line between New Haven and Springfield, Massachusetts. In addition to all the awards for Connecticut DOT projects, Amtrak was also awarded $827 million for the Connecticut River Bridge project for construction to replace that existing 116-year-old bridge between Old Saybrook and Old Lyme. If you add the Connecticut DOT projects, the letter of intent for the Devon Bridge replacement, and Amtrak's award, the state of Connecticut was awarded a total of $4.2 billion. This was a historic investment that will help address the backlog of major projects and improvements that will help improve the safety and reliability of rail service, operational flexibility, and provide for increased capacity, speed, and efficiencies of rail transportation in Connecticut and along the Northeast Corridor. Currently, we are beginning to strategize for the next round of FSP funding. Wish us luck. Through the strategic collaboration and comprehensive analysis, the Connecticut DOT has undertaken significant initiatives aimed at improving railroad infrastructure and service quality, leveraging federal funding opportunities, particularly through the Federal State Partnership NEC grant program, has been instrumental in bringing these initiatives to life. Securing a historic level of grant funding for the state of Connecticut totaling $4.2 billion marks a significant milestone in addressing critical rail projects and enhancing safety, reliability, and operational efficiency along the Northeast Corridor. Notably, the readiness of match funds underscores the commitment of state leadership to prioritize and support the advancement of rail infrastructure in Connecticut. Overall, these efforts represent a transformative investment that will shape the future of rail transportation in the state and beyond. Once again, thank you for inviting myself and the Connecticut Department of Transportation to participate.